In the dim glow of a cafe corner, Ava's smile fades as her boyfriend's words slice through her like glass. You'll never make it. It isn't just doubt. It's betrayal. The one she trusted most planted a wound that would one day grow into fire. Ava's world was small but filled with quiet dreams. By day, she stacked books in a dusty corner shop, and by night she filled the pages of a worn notebook with ideas bigger than her life. Liam, always by her side, should have been her anchor. Instead, he laughed at her sketches, calling them fantasies, unaware those scribbles were blueprints of the empire she was determined to build. Love is supposed to lift you, but for Ava it became a chain around her ankles. Each time she shared a glimpse of the future she longed for, a small business, a chance to build something of her own, Liam's voice cut through, reminding her of her limits. He told her he cared, told her he loved her, but his love came wrapped in doubt. And doubt weighs more than any silence, more than any absence. At night, lying beside him, Ava felt the quiet war inside her heart. Shouldn't the person who claims to love you be the one who believes the loudest? Yet every I love you came with an echo of, but you can't. That tension gnawed at her, the painful choice between staying where it was safe or risking it all to chase a dream no one else believed in. The room would erupt in laughter, glasses clinking, music humming in the background. And then, like clockwork, Liam would lean in with a smirk and say, "Careful, Ava might try to buy this place one day with her CEO fantasies." The crowd chuckled, not realizing how sharp those words felt to her. Ava forced a smile, her laugh blending into the noise, but inside, it wasn't humor, it was humiliation. She swallowed the sting, pretending it didn't matter. Yet each joke, each smirk, each mocking glance left a mark deeper than the last. What Liam didn't know was that behind her polite laughter, a fire was quietly taking root. Every public jab was fuel. Every careless word became a brick in the wall she was building, not to protect herself from him, but to rise higher than he ever imagined she could. The nights felt endless, lit only by the glow of her laptop screen and the restless rhythm of her heartbeat. Ava pitched ideas to investors who barely looked up, sent emails that never found a reply, and watched friends exchange whispers, their smiles laced with pity. Each rejection stung, but what hurt more was coming home to Liam's voice, steady, dismissive, cruel in its certainty. "See? I told you. You're wasting time." Those words didn't just echo, they pressed down on her like a weight she couldn't shake. She questioned herself, wondered if maybe he was right, if her dreams were too fragile to survive in a world this cold. Yet even in the silence of failure, she clung to her notebook. Because buried in those pages was something Liam couldn't see, a vision that refused to die, no matter how many doors closed. It was past midnight when Ava returned home from yet another failed pitch. Her shoulders slumped, her notebook clutched tightly to her chest as though holding it together might keep her from falling apart. The living room was dim, lit only by the blue glow of a TV. Liam sat with a friend, laughing over drinks, unaware that Ava had paused in the hallway. Then she heard it, words sharper than any rejection letter. "She'll never be more than average. I'm just waiting until she gives up." The air froze. Her chest tightened. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Rejection from strangers was painful, but betrayal from the man she loved felt like a knife twisted deep. Every laugh, every dismissive smirk suddenly made sense. He had never believed in her, not once. Tears blurred her vision, but behind them something shifted. The hurt transformed into something raw, something alive. His sentence wasn't just a wound. It was a spark. In that moment, Ava realized she had two choices: crumble under his words or let them ignite her into something greater. That night, quietly, without a word, she decided she would rise. And when she did, the world would remember. The apartment was silent when Ava packed her things. No dramatic fight, no shouting match. Just the sound of a suitcase zipper closing on a life she was leaving behind. She didn't take much. A few clothes, her old laptop, and that battered notebook filled with dreams Liam had mocked. It wasn't possessions she carried with her that night, but something far heavier, the weight of betrayal and the fire it had lit inside her. As she stepped out into the cold air, tears slid down her cheeks. But these weren't tears of weakness anymore. Each one felt like a release, as if her body was emptying the pain to make space for determination. She whispered to herself, almost like a vow, prove him wrong. For the first time in years, Ava wasn't carrying Liam's doubt. She was carrying her own belief, fragile but alive. She checked into a tiny room with peeling wallpaper and a single flickering bulb. And though it looked like nothing, it felt like freedom. Her heartbreak had become her power. The same words that were meant to break her now burned in her chest like fuel. Ava wasn't just walking away, she was walking toward her destiny. The room was barely livable, cracked walls, peeling paint, and no heat to soften the bite of winter nights. Yet to Ava it wasn't a cage, it was a beginning. She set her laptop on a rickety wooden table, the hum of its fan filling the silence, and opened her notebook like it was scripture. Days bled into nights with no pause between them. Ava taught herself code through endless tutorials, her fingers trembling over the keyboard as she built the skeleton of her first online business. Mistakes came often, each error message flashing like another rejection. But instead of breaking her spirit, they sharpened her resolve. Meals became an afterthought. Half-drunk cups of coffee littered the desk, their bitterness replacing food. Blankets weren't for sleep, but for wrapping around her shoulders as she worked until her eyes stung. Comfort was gone, replaced by a fragile but unshakable hope. Every line of code, every late-night scribble in her notebook was a step away from Liam's words. In that tiny freezing room, Ava was building more than a business. She was building herself anew. And though the world couldn't see it yet, the foundation of an empire was quietly being laid. Her eyes were heavy, her body running on little more than caffeine and stubbornness. The nights had blurred so completely that Ava no longer knew the difference between yesterday and tomorrow. Then, in the middle of another endless coding session, a small sound pierced the silence, a notification. She almost ignored it, expecting another system error. But when she looked closer, her breath caught. It wasn't an error. It was an order, one sale. One stranger out there had clicked buy. The number on the screen was small, almost laughably so, compared to the wealth she once dreamed about. But in that fragile moment it felt monumental. For weeks she had poured every ounce of herself into something no one else believed in. And now, proof. Proof that her work had reached someone. Proof that her dream wasn't just scribbles in a notebook. Tears blurred her vision as she pressed a hand over her mouth, laughing and crying at once. It wasn't about the money. It was about validation. One stranger had believed, and that was enough to reignite the fire. Alone in her freezing room, Ava whispered, "This is only the beginning." And deep down, she knew it was. Momentum was finally building. Orders trickled in more steadily, her sight gaining small sparks of attention. For the first time in months, Ava let herself breathe. She dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, the tide was turning. Then, in one cruel instant, everything collapsed. Her system crashed without warning. Pages disappeared, files corrupted. Weeks of code, sleepless nights, and fragile hope vanished into a blank screen. Ava stared in disbelief, her fingers frozen above the keyboard, as if moving might shatter her completely. She tried everything: restart, recover, retrace. Nothing worked. The silence of that empty screen was deafening, and then, like a haunting, Liam's voice echoed in her mind. "You'll never make it." The words pounded through her skull, louder than any error message, sharper than any loss. Tears burned at the edges of her eyes. Was this the end? Was the universe proving him right? In the wreckage of failure, Ava lowered her head, trembling. But even then, beneath the weight of despair, a flicker of defiance refused to die. Broken but unyielding, she whispered into the silence, "Not yet. I'm not finished." Bills stacked higher than her courage. Rent was overdue. Her bank account displayed nothing but a mocking string of numbers, near empty like her energy. The glow of her laptop, once a beacon, now felt like a reminder of everything she'd lost. She sat in that cold, tiny room, tears threatening but refusing to fall. The crash had gutted her progress, stripped her of momentum, and left her standing at a crossroads: quit now and vanish quietly, or start again from nothing. Both choices felt impossible. Both felt cruel. Her trembling hand reached for the notebook. The same one Liam used to mock at parties, the one he called Scribbles of a Dreamer. She opened it, flipping through pages filled with messy sketches, half-formed plans, and words scrawled in moments of raw hope. Her chest rose and fell as if she were breathing life back into those pages. Finally, her voice broke the silence, soft but steady. "This isn't where it ends." That whisper wasn't just defiance. It was a promise to herself. Ava closed her eyes, clutching the notebook to her chest. If she had to rebuild from ashes, she would, because giving up meant letting him win, and that was never an option. Ava wiped the slate clean, not to forget her failures, but to learn from them. This time she wouldn't build recklessly. She would rebuild smarter. With nothing left to lose, she swallowed her pride and began reaching out to people she had once been too afraid to approach. Strangers on forums, entrepreneurs she admired, mentors who had walked this road before, anyone willing to share wisdom. Every connection became a stepping stone. Each conversation handed her a tool she hadn't known she needed. Ava worked harder than ever, doubling her hours, sacrificing sleep, and pouring every ounce of energy into shaping her business with sharper focus. Slowly, something unexpected began to happen. People weren't just drawn to her product, they were drawn to her. Her resilience, her refusal to quit, her story of being torn down yet still standing tall. In a world full of polished success stories, Ava's raw honesty stood out. The brand she was building wasn't just about sales, it was about survival, determination, and proof that broken beginnings could still lead to greatness. And for the first time, the world didn't just see Ava's dream. They believed in it, because they believed in her 2 years. That's all it took for Ava's quiet rebellion to turn into a roar the world could no longer ignore. What began in a freezing room with peeling walls grew into a company bursting with life, ideas, and undeniable momentum. Her startup didn't just survive, it exploded into $1 million empire. Magazines called her the self-made visionary. Headlines spoke of grit, resilience, and an unstoppable woman who defied the odds. Investors who once dismissed her now lined up, eager to shake the hand of the very girl they'd overlooked. And then came the stages. Bright lights, packed halls, microphones in her hands. Ava, once mocked for her CEO fantasies, now stood tall, teaching others how to rise from ashes, how to turn doubt into fuel. The same notebook Liam laughed at became a relic of her journey, proof that ideas scribbled in the shadows could one day command the spotlight. She was no longer just Ava, the girl with dreams too big. She was Ava, the woman who turned betrayal into empire. And as she looked out at the faces of those who now listened intently, she knew her story wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who had ever been told you can't. The stage fades, the spotlight softens, and now it's just Ava. No noise, no crowd, just her steady gaze meeting the camera, holding the weight of every battle she's fought. Her voice cuts through the silence. Sometimes the person you love most will doubt you. Their words will sting deeper than any rejection. But you choose. Let them break you or let them set you on fire. Her eyes don't flinch. They shine not with old pain but with the strength born from it. Behind her, the empire she built whispers proof of what resilience can create. Then she leans closer. Her tone softer, almost intimate. If my rise shook you, remember, the next story might be yours. The frame holds for a moment, her words lingering like smoke before her final line seals it. Subscribe. Don't miss what comes next.